Good morning, fourth graders. Today I want to share with you one of my favorite books. And after we read this book, I'm going to make my own text to self connections. I'm going to connect something in my own life to something in this book, just like I did yesterday with Alexander and the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. This book is All the Places to Love. I don't have the beautiful cover on it anymore because I've had this book for about 21 years. I got it when I lived in Vermont, and I went to a bookstore to see this author. Her name is Patricia McLaughlin, and she read her stories, and she told stories, and she even signed the book, All the Places to Love. It says, "To Anne, all good wishes. My name is Anne. Patricia McLaughlin." So sit up, lean in, and listen to me read All the Places to Love. On the day I was born, my grandmother wrapped me in a blanket made from the wool of her sheep. She held me up in the open window so that what I heard first was the wind. What I saw first were all the places to love. The valley, the river falling down over rocks, the hilltop where the blueberries grew. This page makes me think of looking out my back window or sitting on my back porch and seeing all the places to love in my yard, where my kids used to swing on the swing set, where we would play in the yard, the driveway where my husband would come home at the end of the day, or my teenage drivers would come home. Those are places I love. My grandfather was painting the barn, and when he saw me, he cried. He carved my name, Eli, on a rafter beside his name, and grandmother's name, and the names of my papa and my mama. Mama carried me, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat this morning. Mama carried me on her shoulders before I could walk. Through the meadows and hayfields, the cows watched us and sheep scattered. The dogs ran ahead, looking back with sly smiles. When the grass was high, only their tails showed. When I was older, Papa and I plowed the fields. "Where else is soil so sweet?" he said. Once, Papa and I lay down in the field holding hands, and the birds surrounded us. Raucous black grackles, redwings, crows in the dirt that swaggered like pirates. This is a swagger. When we left, Papa put a handful of dirt in his pocket, and I did too. I bet our classmate Ryan Henning can make a text-to-self connection because he's a farmer. His family farms. My grandmother loved the river best of all the places to love. "That sound like a whisper," she said, gathering in pools where trout flashed like jewels in the sunlight. Grandmother sailed little bark boats downriver to me with messages. "I love you, Eli," one said. We jumped from rock to rock, across the river to where the woods began, where bunchberry grew under the pine needle path and trillium bloomed. Under the beech tree was a soft rounded bed where a deer had slept. The bed was warm when I touched it. When spring rains came and the meadow turned to marsh, cattails stood like guards, and killdeers called. Ducks nested by marsh marigolds, and the old turtle, his shell all worn, no matter how slow, still surprised me. Sometimes we climbed to the place Mama loved best, with our blueberry buckets and a chair for my grandmother, to the blueberry barren where no trees grew, the sky an arm's length away, where marsh hawks skimmed over the land and bears came to eat fruit, and wild turkeys left footprints for us to find, like messages. "Where else," said my mama, "can I see the sunrise on one side and the sunset on the other?" Have you ever climbed to the top of a hill where you could see where the sun comes up and the sun goes down? That would be a text to self connection. My grandfather's barn is sweet smelling and dark and cool. Leather harnesses hang like paintings against old wood, and hay dust floats like gold in the air. Oh, I love that simile. Hay dust floats like gold in the air. Grandfather once lived in the city, and he once lived by the sea. But the barn is the place he loves most. Where else, he says, can the soft sounds of cows chewing make all the difference in the world? Today we wait, him sitting on a wooden slat chair and me on the hay, until much later my grandmother holds up a small bundle in the open window, wrapped in a blanket made from the wool of her sheep, and my grandfather cries. Who do you think this is? Who? Together we carve the name Sylvie in the rafter, besides the names of grandfather and grandmother and my mama and papa and me. My sister is born. I know that the Maroney twins can make a text to self-connection because they have a 7 or 8 week old sister, so they remember when that sister was born. Someday I might live by the city. Someday I might live by the sea, but soon I will carry Sylvie on my shoulders through the fields. I will send her messages down river in small boats, and I will watch her at the top of the hill, trying to touch the sky. I will show her my favorite place, the marsh, where ducklings follow their mother like tiny tumbles of leaves. Oh, look at this beautiful view. This looks like a lot of places in Wyoming County, doesn't it? Did any of you pick blueberries this summer? I did not. I missed it. But usually I do. All the places to love are here, I'll tell her, no matter where you may live. Where else, I will say, does an old turtle crossing the path make all the difference in the world? That's the end of the book. I made a lot of text-to-self connections during the story about things I've done in my own life. Today, you're going to have a choice of books on Epic, or you can choose a book you're already reading at home, and you need to make your own text-to-self connections. Take 10 to 15 minutes to read, and then work in your RRJ to write your own text-to-self connections. Have a great day.